Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be analyzing our draft. For those of you who don't know, I am starting my 4th season of my draft league, the FBA or Fan Battle Association. And yeah, every week I'll be posting a live video of my battle, and we'll also be posting probably a post-commentary reaction to Kevin's battle. Why is this so loud? Jesus. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing a little analysis of the draft, saying what I think about each team, and I'll be ranking them as well. So let's start off with the Canalave City Steelworkers, coached, well, let me not reveal that, coached by Steve, Aquaradmin Steve. So, as you guys can see, somehow Magirna, for the voting, it didn't reach majority to ban it, so it is allowed. And he, of course, drafted that as his first pick of the entire draft. Makes sense. It is very good. It is super good in Draft League because it's so versatile. It can run many sets. Anyway, looking at his team as a whole, he has some kind of weird picks in there, like Palisand. He has Ludicolo with no Rain Setter, which is interesting. He could, of course, Rain Dance on something now. He has a Arachnid with Webs. He has Bouffalant, which is also it is kind of interesting. And he does have the Zimu Shaman with the Rillaboom with Grassy Surge combo, which is really cool. And just so you guys know, in this tier, every team chooses a Z-Captain, and that Z-Captain is the only Pokemon on their team that is able to utilize Z-moves. And they don't have to run it, but it's the only Pokemon that can run it on their team. And it has to be a Tier 3 or below Pokemon, and Shaman's actually Tier 3. And Shaman also, unfortunately for us, gets Celebrate, so it can run Z Celebrate as well. Omni boosting Z moves are not banned, so it can run Z Celebrate, which is really strong. Yeah. So overall, I think his team is pretty solid. I think his Arachnid with Webs, the Webs pair is really nice with maybe a Choice Banded Medicham, Choice Banded Crocodile, Choice Banded Darm, maybe even, you could also run Scarf on these, anticipating opposing faster Scarfers. And of course, I mean, Magirna, I guess the Webs won't help out that much unless you're running a really fast set. And Latias could help against opposing Scarfers or faster opposing Pokemon. So overall, I think this team is really solid. As I've said, it does have Fire, Water, Grass. I would not, yeah, it does have a defensive Fire, Water, Grass core. I mean, it doesn't really have the defensive Fire. It does not have Fairy, Dragon, Steel. I mean, its only Steel type is also a Fairy, which is very interesting. It means that, what does he miss out on if he's a Fairy Steel? Well, if he doesn't have a Fairy type, it means that he doesn't have a Pokemon to resist, what if Fairies resist Dragon? But, I mean, I guess it's fine. So overall, I mean, obviously this team is going to be ranked number 1 for now. I'm going to go along and change this as we go. It's ranked number 1 because it's the only team I've seen. Overall, I'd say, okay, so I'll also do the strengths and weaknesses of the team, or maybe an overall. So the overall strength of this team, I think it has really good synergy with Webs plus its faster Pokemon, and it's Z-Move Shaman plus Rillaboom. Weaknesses, I'd say the main weakness is, I wouldn't say the defensive backbone is the best. It does have Intimidate Crocodile, which pairs well with a lot of stuff. It has its Fire, it has its Grass Water core. Its Fire type doesn't really have a defensive Fire. It's missing a Flying type, but it does have Lottie for ground resistances. But against Pokemon like Landorus, it's not going to matter too much. They just U-turn on Lottie. But overall, it is very solid, very threatening. Ditto is, of course, very threatening. It's just, I wouldn't say that's the best defensive backbone. It could definitely use some more types in there. Like a defensive Fire type, a defensive Flying type, a defensive Ground as well. Like Palisand is good enough. It also doesn't even have a Rocker. Unless Palisand gets Stealth Rocks, I'm not sure about that. Oh, it's Crocodile. And I guess Crocodile's a decent defensive Ground, but it's definitely not the best. So yeah. Moving on, we have Zesty Zoroarks, coached by Gappy. So this team right here is a full-on Rain squad. They have some nice Rain staples, like the ugly Pelipper. In my opinion, Politoed is the only real Rain setter. They got Seismitoad, probably going to be Roma Swisswim. They got Dracovish, Mega Swampert. They do not have Ferrothorn or anything. They don't have a defensive grass. They do have Gogoat, though, which could count as a defensive grass if used correctly. At Barraskewda. They do have Cloyster, which is interesting. Very interesting pick on this team, but it is in Tier 3, so it's kind of a nice snag. They have Manaphy as well, which is not going to be holding a Z Crystal. The Z Crystal user is Seismitoad. So, strengths of this team, it is very threatening. Mainly Dracovish and Rain is obviously super scary. And Shedinja is really cool. I feel like Dracovish can do a good job at, like, Dracovish and Swampert. Like, Gappy's goal can kind of be to just, like, hope the opponent focuses on Dracovish and all the Rain stuff and completely forgets to leave their Shedinja answer alive, and then Shedinja can just win from there. So yeah, strengths, very threatening. Weaknesses, they don't have a good defensive backbone. A lot of Drain teams don't really, but they usually have 1 or 2 Pokemon that can cover it up. In this case, Lando, I think, is really solid, but the lack of a good defensive grass... I mean, Gogo's really good. Gogo was a good pick. I'm pretty sure it has decent defenses, but they just don't have... I feel like with this much pressure on their Rain Sweepers, they need something to switch in to faster Scarfers or something when the rain's done. And they also only have 1 Rain Setter. I feel like with this team you need 2, at least. They don't have a Torn or anything with Rain Dance. Of course they can run Rain Dance with something else, but I think this team is overall lacking in actual substance. But in terms of threateningness, in terms of being threatening, it's very threatening. Unfortunately though, I'm going to say it's the second best out of the 2 we've seen. Next up, Blizzard Vanilluxe, coached by Gradual. This is actually one of the 2 teams that got drafted after the draft because he didn't show up. But despite having a limited pool of mons to choose from, he was able to get some pretty good picks, mainly because there's just so many Pokemon with that dex. And I didn't say it seems like he wasn't limited too much in his team building. Strengths, I think he has a really solid speed tiers. And he has webs as well, which I think pair well. I think the number one thing that's good about this team is synergy, right? He has good speed tiers. He has Volt Turners, Infernape, and Noivern, as well as Rotom. He has webs, which pair well with those 3. It also pairs well with Hoopa Unbound, potentially Banded Hoopa Unbound. Ferrothorn is also good. Ferrothorn plus Tentacruel is a very good defensive backbone, especially with Sandaconda. He also has Audino. So this team overall is very solid. I'm going to say it's probably the best team we've seen so far. I mean, it's close with Canalave City. So I'm actually going to have to give it to Canalave City. I changed my mind because, well, here, this is number 2, number 3. Because Canalave City, they have Magearna, Rotom, Rillaboom, like, they have some really good picks. And I think each Pokemon on its own on Canalave City is stronger than each Pokemon on Vanilluxe's squad. Of course, you know, synergy usually beats out individual goodness of a Pokemon. But in this case, since they did have a limited pool of mons to choose from, they don't have the best defensive backbone. I did say Ferrothorn plus Tentacle is really good, but they need another member of that to maybe make it stronger. Audino's pretty decent. Quagsire is good, but he already has a bulky water. Sandaconda is good as well. It doesn't get any healing though. It does get rocks though, and he doesn't have a solid defog. He does his Rapid Spin though, and I guess Noivern does get defog. So it is a very threatening team paired with webs, but the threatening mons just aren't as threatening as Canalave City's mons that work well with webs, because they're both very similar teams, right? They both are balanced with a bit more emphasis on faster offensive Pokemon and webs. But I would say that Canalave City overall is better, probably because of the fact that they got earlier picks. Well, they were able to pick during the draft, whereas Vanilluxe's had to choose from the pool of mons that haven't been picked already. Next, we have Suburban Snorlaxes, coached by Snorlax. So, you know, they do have the mascot as well. So this team, let's see. I like it. It's very solid. I think it's definitely a balanced team. They have the defensive core of Jellicent, which somehow was tier 5, plus Hippo, plus potentially Togekiss or Rachi, depending on what set they want to run. As well as Mega Altaria, depending on the set they want to run, and as well as Weezing, and even Trevenant, depending on the set. So, you know, like, their main defensive core is definitely Hippo, plus Jellicent, plus Altaria, and even Weezing as a lower tier if they want to bring it, as well as Togekiss, Trevenant, plus Rachi, depending on the sets and how they want to prepare that. And then they have a bit more hyper off. They have good cleaners, I feel. Greninja is Protean, but I feel like it's because there's no Battle Bond, it's banned. Protean Greninja, they could of course use it as a spiker, as a nice lead with U-turn. If they want to run it as a Scarfer, this plus Vanillux will be very, very good at cleaning the team, the opposing trainer's team once it's weakened. Especially weakened because of all the switch-ins with its nice balance, all the U-turning. Conkeldurr Conkeldurr's a very good breaker for this team because this team kind of struggles with a breaker besides maybe Gren. But Gren can of course function as both a breaker and a cleaner. Togekiss can function as a breaker as well, and so can Rachi as more of a setup breaker or even a sweeper if they run Ancient Power or Nasty Plot, Sub, Roost on Kiss. So overall, this team is very solid. I of course talked about its strengths. Also, Delphox is really nice with a Z move. In terms of weaknesses, I feel like if you look at all the picks, this is tough. This team is actually really solid. I'm gonna say it's the best team so far, just because like if you look at this team versus Canalave City, Canalave City has really nice pairing with webs, but Snorlax I think has a really good ability to wear down the opponent with its really solid defensive core, as well as being able to then use cleaners afterwards. Whereas Canalave City's bulky offense balance is more like early game breakers instead of cleaners, which I feel like it's good, but he needs a bit more ways to chip down his opponents, maybe more rock setters especially, and he just doesn't have that. Like he says Crocodile, so rocks plus spikes, as well as his sticky web would be really good, but he doesn't have it. But yeah, back to Snorlax's weaknesses. I think a weakness of this team is its speed. It does have some very good speed tiers. I feel like overall it's middling speed, but it definitely is really solid. Yeah, I mean, of course, Gren plus Scarf. Vanillux is good. I think Delphox is a good speed tier. Togekiss could be Scarf. Jirachi's good. So I wouldn't say speed is like a huge, you know, game-breaking weakness, but it is definitely a weakness of the team. But overall, very solid team. Probably the best we've seen so far. I believe it. I feel like it's probably the team that makes best use of its Mega. I mean, I guess besides, of course, the Rain team, because Mega Altaria fits very well on these balanced teams that have cleaners in the back. Next team is Green Bay Zekroms, coached by Zono. He didn't finish drafting yet. He's the other team that was late or didn't make it to the draft. I decided just to release this video and instead of waiting for him to be done, because I really want to get this out there. I feel like it's important to send this out now. Yeah. Next we got Indiana Agrons, coached by Nick. So when he was drafting, we were kind of joking that it was stall and stuff. At first I thought it was, and it kind of is, but you can't. Here's the thing: you can't really say something's stall looking at 13 mons, because the team is obviously 6 Pokemon. So if he decides to bring like Corv, Blissey, Mega Venusaur, maybe Doublade, Milotic, Mudsdale, Clef over any of those, maybe even a Toxic Taunt Zeraora, that could definitely be stall. But it really, or even Cradily, but it depends on the way he runs it. He even said he's probably going to run offensive Blissey. He could, of course, be just baiting us, but, you know. I wouldn't say yet that this is guaranteed stall. I feel like you can't say a team of 13 stall, you mainly have to see what they bring for their 6, and then you could say based off that if it's stall or not. So, let's see. Strengths of this team, it's very annoying to deal with. I feel like it has some nice picks. Doublade and Mudsdale were really good lower tier picks that kind of patched up a bit of their weaknesses. It's just an overall good core with Venusaur. The team's weaknesses though, I feel like the core could be better, especially since if you're going for stall, you're going to want to go for all-out stall. And you know, he obviously, as I said, he might not run it as stall, but if he doesn't, it's kind of bad. If you look at his physical walls, actually, like, here's the thing. All you have to do is bring a physical wall, or sorry, if you bring a physical breaker that's able to deal with Corviknight, then he has no more physical walls. He has Doublade, he has Mudsdale, potentially Venusaur, Cradily. And you might say, okay, yeah, there you go, physical walls. But the thing about Mudsdale and Doublade that is very unfortunate, and why they're not really used in stall, is because they don't have any reliable recovery. So if you can use a physical breaker that gets past Corv, then you're good. Whereas for special breakers, obviously he has Clef, he has Blissey, which he's probably going to run offensively, as he said, or Milotic. But yeah, I feel like a weakness of the team, is the fact that his physical walls, he doesn't have strong physical walls, mainly because they don't have reliable recovery, as well as the fact that his mons are middling speed, but that's kind of what you expect. And one thing he does well on this team is he does patch up his weaknesses, kind of. Zeraora is a good, I feel like is very good. It's a good anti-stall breaker, because it can carry Taunt, it can carry Bulk Up, Calm Mind. I think it's really good. It fits really well on this team. Usually I don't think Zeraora is too good, but it's a good steal for tier 2, especially, and on this team it's very solid. Another way I think Nick patched up, I don't even know if he realizes, he patched up his weaknesses very, very, very well with Clefable. Because, as I said, Doublade and Mudsdale don't get any reliable recovery, but Clefable can Wish Pass very solidly. I feel like this team would be a lot better if it had Alomomola as another Wish Passer, as well as a physical wall. I feel like if you had Alomomola over something like maybe Melodic, but I feel like Melodic's something over, I mean, he obviously couldn't get it in time, but if he got it over something like Miltank, or just anything, honestly, Alomomola would fit this team really well, probably better than Clefable, since he does have that Blissey and the Melodic as Spadef walls. So overall, this team is pretty solid. I'd say, nah, I don't think I think if it's gonna be stall, it's not good stall, it's not the best stall, and if it's not run a stall, it's pretty much not good. It's gonna take the opponents out, but it's just overall not good. I'm gonna put it as number 4, just above the Rain team. Alright. Next we have California Conkeldurrs, coached by Coach Derp. Let's see. This team is pretty solid. I really like its defensive. It has a really nice defensive backbone with Spadef, Wish Pass, Sylveon, potentially Fizdef or Celebi, but you can honestly just run many sets. It has Gastrodon, can be run as Fizdef or Spadef. He has Empoleon, very good lead with hazards. He has Weezing, very good with Defog. In terms of his offensive picks, he has, I guess, Sylveon potentially, even potentially Celebi. A lot of his Pokemon are very versatile. Ambipomp's a decent cleaner. He has potentially Banded. Entei as a good breaker. He has Mega Tyranitar as a very nice breaker. Thundurus T as a good cleaner, and Mew as just whatever he wants it to be that week, which I think is very good. So pros of this team, I think both his he has very good breakers, and he has good defensive backbone to kind of weaken his opponent and allow for those breakers to come in, similar to Vanillix's team. I apologize, Snorlax's team. However, as I said with Snorlax's team, Snorlax focuses more on cleaners, right? Because the defensive backbone is going to be weakening the team, whereas Conkeldurrs has more breakers. It does have a nice cleaner in Thundurus. I think Thundurus is a very, very good pick for this team. So overall, I think the team is very good. It could definitely use more speed with better cleaners, because like Thundurus is a good cleaner, but his other cleaners, I guess Ambipom is obviously not the best. DDT-Tar is good, but you know, it has to get those DDs up, which might be difficult against his opponent's team. Manectric is not very good. It's more of a good pivot than a cleaner, and it's also pretty redundant with Thundurus. Mew could be a decent cleaner, but it's only base 100, so it's not the best cleaner. Same with Celebi. So I'm going to say overall, it is a very solid team. I like the idea. I'm going to say it's definitely worse than Snorlax. It's also worse. I'd say it's worse than all the teams I reviewed besides Rain and Aggron. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. This is number 4, with the Stolly team being 5 and the Rain team being 6. Moving on, we got Boston Bastiodons with Coach Quack? Yeah, Quack. Coach Quack. Let's see this team. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Z user. His Z user on the stall team is called Balion, which actually I do think is really good. It's a good kind of early game breaker, but I mean, there's definitely better options. And California Conkeldurrs is Dodrio. I think that flying type stab with a Z move is going to be really solid. So I think these teams both did a very good job picking their Z users. Yeah, honestly, props to those teams. Like, I'm not going to move them up, but they definitely get more points, I guess you could say, for these Z users. I think they both did a very good job picking them. Okay, Boston Bastiodon. So we got very good speed tiers off the bat with Blaziken, Kyurem, Alakazam. Beedrill as a good pivot. He's got Z-Move Necrozma, very, very scary. As well as T-Tar as a nice Choice Banded Breaker, Pursuit Trapper, Stakataka as a late game sweeper, or maybe even just a breaker, depending on how he wants to use it. With Trick Room, he has Claydol as a Trick Room setter, Slowking as a Trick Room setter, This team is very good. If you look at like the last half of this team, you can see it's very powerful and it has very good offensive synergy. But you'd be like, wait, he doesn't have any speed. It's very slow. Of course he has Trick Room, but it's not enough. And then you see he has Beedrill, and these first 3 picks over here, very, very good. Offensively, I think this team is amazing. It kind of covers all the good bases of an offensive team. It has rocks, it has good speed control in both directions with Trick Room and fast Pokemon. It has good pivots in Beedrill, and Parting Shot to Valley is pretty nice. Teleport Slowking potentially. Defensively, on the other hand, it's a bit lacking. If you look at his defensive mons, you have Necrozma, but like he's probably going to want to use that, especially since it's a Z move. He's probably going to want to use that as more of a breaker or lake game cleaner. So you know you're kind of missing out on a big offensive capability if you use him as defensive. Avalug's good, but that's really like Slowking as well if you build it offensively. Maybe Silvally. But yeah, this team's kind of lacking because every Pokemon that has good defensive stats, like Diancie, T-Tar, Stakataka. Well, first of all, those 3 are rock types, right? And they also have a lot of weaknesses. And Necrozma, you're going to be wanting, since Z move, you're probably going to want to be using it offensively. And even if you don't, once again, you're missing on a big capability of your team. Avalug's pretty good. I'm going to say overall, this team is very good offensively. But you can't call it a hyper offense team, right? It's just too many non-hyper offensive mons. So I'd call it a kind of weak hyper offensive team. It kind of, yeah. And if you call this balance, it's probably a bad balance team because it doesn't have enough of it. It doesn't have a defensive core. So when I first look at this team, it obviously looks really solid offensively, but it has no defensive core. And you know, you don't always need a defensive core if you're running hyper offense, but this is just a bit shy of hyper offense to call hyper offense necessarily. But it is very good. For the reasons I said about it being very threatening, having a lot of good breakers and cleaners combined offensively. This team is very strong offensively. I'm gonna say it's better than the stall. It's better than. I'm gonna say it's better than Conkeldurr. Actually, no. I'm gonna say it's worse than Conkeldurr, honestly, because Conkeldurr was a bit solid. It's really solid. Not as solid as I maybe initially said. So 5, 6, 7. Also, in terms of Z user, Necrozma is pretty good on most. It's a good Z user on most teams. But I feel like on this team, you're gonna want a defensive mon anyway, so it's probably not the best choice of a Z user. I feel like maybe Stakataka would be better as like Rocky and Z, so you can maybe defeat very bulky Fizz Deck walls in Trick Room. Yeah. Next we have Rook and Banetz, coached by Kevin. So usually when I play with Kevin, and if he wants to use a Pokemon, and I think it's a stupid or ugly Pokemon, I'm going to call it ugly and we're not going to use it. Like Volcanion right there. And of course, he drafted a lot of ugly Pokemon. He does have the very nice pick of Hariyama. I love Hariyama. He has Gliscor. Very cool pick. Other than that, though, you know, it's whatever. He kind of got some ugly mons. I mean, some of them's cool, like Reuniclus, Magneton, Druddigon, but other mons are just kind of ugly. Aside from personal preference, though, let's see. This team is... This might be one of the most interestingly drafted teams without being bad. Because I definitely wouldn't say it's bad, but it's very interesting. This is his first draft, so let's see. Defensively, he has got some nice picks. He's got the Altaria, he's got Gliscor, he's got potentially AB Hariyama, which also, of course, can be used as a wall breaker with CC or Guts CC. He's got Scolipede, which doesn't get... there's no Baton Pass, or at least you can only drive Baton Pass, meaning Baton Passing with no stats. Unless it's negative stats. And you also can't pass with Cell as well. Meloetta is a Z user. I get Z Celebrate, I think, so that would be good. Paired with Mega Gardevoir, I think it's pretty solid. It'll be able to weaken opponents for the Mega Gardevoir, and vice versa. He has good breakers, Volcanion. I think one thing he does well, similar to the team before him, Boston Bastiodons, he has a good mix of cleaners, like Kartana, potentially Gardevoir, maybe Meloetta, as well as wall breakers like Hariyama, maybe Specs Volcanion. Yeah, and he does have Pokemon that are good to clear for the sweep. What's the word? He's a trapper. It's able to trap steel types, which Gartana struggles with. Magneton, of course, can trap steel types. Very good defensive synergy there. He has 2 rockers in Gliscor and Druddigon. He has a way to get rid of rocks with Defog on Gliscor potentially, Defog on Altaria. Overall, I say the team is solid. It's just lacking, once again, in defensive synergy. It does have bulky Pokemon, but defensively it's not good, because you're going to be wanting to use it, like, Reuniclus, you could use AV. I guess if you really need a special wall, which you probably will, you're going to need to use AV on that thing, plus specially defensive Altaria with, like, Fizdef, Druddigon, and Gliscor. And once again, if you try to call this team more hyper-offensive, it kind of has the same struggle as Boston Bastiodons. They're very similar in terms of composition, where you have... I mean, Boston Bastiodons, where he's struggling, is that his speed control is very good, and he has a good mix of breakers and cleaners. But he doesn't have the best momentum besides like Beedrill. And he has too many, how do I say this? It's kind of hard to just all of a sudden pivot between Trick Room and Fast Mons, right? I feel like that's like having Trick Room is better on a bulky team, unless you're going like, you know, on a balanced team, unless you're going for straight Trick Room on Hyper Offense. So this is definitely, obviously, I think both teams are bad Hyper Offense, if you want to call it Hyper Offense, but I think they're more balanced teams that aren't all they could be. I think Kevin's just lacking a bit more type coverage. He doesn't have a Fire, Water, Grass core, I believe. Like, he has, sorry, a defensive Fire, Water, Grass. He doesn't have an offensive, he doesn't even have really a defensive anything. Like, he has Gliscor as a good defensive ground. That's his main defense. He has a good defensive Dragon, I guess. Flying type, ground resist, and Altaria. He has good hazard control. He has good utility. But overall, he's just a bit lacking in that good defensive type synergy. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say he's worse than Boston Bastiodons. I'm honestly gonna say he's worse than. I'm gonna say he's worse than Agrons because I think Agrons makes very good use of their Mega, and there's a user, whereas Kevin doesn't make his Z user paired with his Mega are good together, but I feel like on his team isn't the best. He's gonna want a more defensive Pokemon, so I'm honestly gonna say it's number 7, just above the Rain team. Sorry, Kevin. This is his first draft though, so let me center these real quick. It's gonna annoy me. Next, Braunschweig Beldums. Here, let me just announce my Discord real quick that I'm recording, so I want to let people know that it's going to be released soon. Sorry, give me a sec. Sorry, I apologize, guys. This is very unfortunate. Okay, one last thing. Very, very sorry about this. Okay, I had to answer some questions from people from my league. Alright, so now we have the most threatening team in my opinion, at least offensively, in the entire league, the Braunschweig Beldums, coached by Coach... I gotta check. Nah, let me remember real quick. Oh, Coach Impact, Coach Captain Impact. There we go. Didn't even have to look at. I remember all my coaches, boys. Offensively, okay, I'm not even talking about defensive cores because he's clearly a hyper offensive team. Good for him. As a player, I have the most knowledge in balance because that's what I play. I don't ever play stall, and I rarely play hyper offense. Very, very rarely. Hyper offense. He's got Dragapult plus Lele as special breakers. Dragapult could of course be physical with DD, which I don't think is that good without a Z-move in Nat Dex. He has Mamoswine, which is a very good early breaker for his Dragapult and Lele cleaners. He has Tarak, which could be rocks, Focus Sash with Endeavor maybe. Very, very good early game breaker as well. Phalanx, which is going to be a cool cleaner with maybe Choice Banded or No Retreat, Life Orb or Lumberry. Mega Pinsir, very solid. Unburdened Swirlix, very good. Unburdened Sceptile is 2 Unburdenmons, which also, I just realized, could pair with the Psychic Terrain Lele, as they can run Psychic Seed. Very, very good. He also, very, very good synergy offensively. He also has Caparajah for another Rocks user. Aerodactyl for Rocks user as potentially Defog. He doesn't really have that good of a Defog. But he doesn't have that. Yeah, he doesn't have the best defog users. But like using hyper offense, so it's not the biggest deal. He won't be switching in and out too much. This is how you run a proper hyper offensive team, especially with, let me say, the best part, the most synergy of his entire team, even more than Lele. Like Lele plus Sceptile and Swirlix with potential Psychic Seed and Unburden is very good. Z-move Zoroark with this team is so, I think it's a curse, it's so fucking scary, it's ridiculous. This team is so scary, plus Pinsir as a good cleaner with SD. Weaknesses, I'm going to say physical cleaners, because Mamoswine and Terrakion are better at breakers. He's only, and like Aerodactyl is probably not going to be used as a cleaner, it's probably going to be used as more of a early game, Rocks lead, Sash, maybe Taunt, and Phalanx is also decent, so is Sceptile. I think his only real, very, very good physical breaker is Pinsir, whereas on the special side he has Lele plus Polt, which I think Polt will be better on his team with special than it will be physical, special, and specs. He also has Pyro, which is alright. That's not even really a weakness, though. Like, I feel like Pinsir is really good. I mean, okay, the main weakness, I feel like, is the fact that he has Pinsir with Lele. Quick Attack isn't very good in terrain, obviously. It doesn't hit flying. It doesn't hit non-flying types. So other than that, definitely best team we've seen so far. Very, very solid offensive synergy. I love the Z-move Zoroark. It is so... I've never seen a better Z-Crystal user in my life, or a better Zoroark pick in my life. This is how you use Zoroark. This is how you use a Z-Crystal user. Definitely the best team in the league so far. So everyone else got to move down. This is now 3, 9, 4, 2, 7, 5, 6, and 8. Yeah, good on Captain Impact. Very, very intimidating team. Next we have Sunbury Stunfisk, coached by Camel Convention. Definitely a balanced team, which I of course have more knowledge on. I mean, I think I did a pretty good job explaining this team, though. It is so threatening. Anyway, sorry. Stunfisks. Zygarde 50 is in banned, so very good pick. Zygarde plus Superior. Solid, bulky Alomomola. Alomomola obviously took the... I guess it was very good that he took this, so Indian and Agons couldn't get it for themselves. He's got a very nice breaker in Choice Banded. Potentially Choice Banded Tyrantrum with Head Smash. He could also be Dragon Dance. He has actually Alomomola as a Fizz Wall, plus Florges as a Spadef Wall. Very good. He also has another Spadef Wall in Regice as a Z-Move user. Very interesting. He has a good either lead, Stealth Rocks lead, Toxic Spikes lead, or a good cleaner in Scarf or Specs, maybe, or Sash as his lead. Nihilego. He has Latias, my boy. Alumice. I don't know what that's doing. Mega Aggron, which I feel like pairs very well. This is also a very good use of his Mega, because it pairs very well with the Florges Alomomola core, giving him a full-on solid defensive core. He also has Rotom. Very, very good. Nice pivot. Stuff he's missing. Let's see, he has a very good Flurry Dragon Steel. He's got Florges, Zygarde, and Aggron. Mega Aggron. Very good. Very good. Dragon Fairy Steel. Firewater Grass. He's got Rotom, Alomomola mainly, and Superior. Very good. So he definitely did well on his combination between defensive mons and offensive mons. He did a very good job on his type synergy. I was gonna say he's missing a ground type. He's got Zygarde right there. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like this seems missing something. But it's very solid. I don't know when. Let me figure out what's missing. That's Defog. I know it. I guess it's just that I just don't like the mons he's using, because, like, I don't know. I just never really use a lot of these, so I don't have that much experience with them. They're just not my kind of mons. But of course, I think it is a very good balanced team. I definitely can't see anything wrong with it. I mean, there's definitely a weakness somewhere. Of course, I've said a weakness and a strength for every team, and every team essentially has its weaknesses. So let's just say a weakness real quick. What is it? Oh, that's what it is. Speed control. His fast mon is Superior, which is very good. But that's it. He could have Scarf on his mons, maybe Scarf Tyrantrum, even Scarf Zygarde if he wants to, Scarf Howitzer. Nihilego's fast. Oh, sorry, Nihilego's very fast as well. Nihilego plus Superior. I feel like a bit of faster mons would be better, but like, you know, and also a better Z user. Like I feel like his Mega was a very good choice. I feel like Regice fits his team pretty well, but as a Z user, it's probably not the best. I would definitely have I would have liked to see the Z Crystal on something like, maybe Tyrantrum to give him a Dragon Dance Z moveset, but he's probably going to be using Banded since it's not Z. Or maybe Mismagius could be cool. Clawitzer maybe even. I don't know. I'm not really sure of a better Z user because keep in mind it can only be tier 3 and below. But Regice definitely was not the play as a Z user. Very solid team. It's definitely worse Sniper offensive team. What's number 2? I'm going to say Snorlaxes are better, to be honest, just because I really like their defensive core. I'm going to say it's better than Canalave City now. So Canalave City is number 4, 10, 5, 8, 6, 7, 9. This is probably a third best team. Now we got Toxic Tyrantrums, Coach James. So right off the bat, he has 2 dragons, which is very interesting. He has Mega Scissors, a very good steal. Unfortunately, what this team is lacking, and something it really, really needed, but it is lacking, is a fairy. Because he has Clefairy, which is good, but he needs a stronger fairy because he has 2 dragons and Mega Scissor, which is a very good start of a fairy dragon steal core. But basically, like any dragon type with coverage for Steelix, so fire cover, or sorry, Scissor, like fire coverage, is gonna fuck up his team. Special Dragapult, Specs Dragapult Specs or Scarf Dragapult will fuck up his entire team. He has no solid switch-ins. If it's physical and it's not DD, I guess, or even if it is DD, I guess Tangle can do the job. If it's special, he really doesn't have anything though. Girder's not bad for physical. Torkoal's not bad, yeah. If it's special, like he has Girder, Tangrowth. I feel like he's gonna be forced to run AV Tangrowth a lot though, because he doesn't have a Sped F wall. He has Clefairy, and Vaporeon. Vaporeon's a really nice Sped F wall. I'll give it to him. Clefable is a very solid Sped F wall. I just don't think it's the best. I do think it's very threatening offensively though. He does have Double Dragon. He does have the Venusaur Sun Core with Venusaur being the Z move. Very good choice of Z user. He has Victini as well. Very solid. Synergy, and of course I do like his Mega Pick as Scissor. Raikou's very nice as well. I feel like offensively this team is doing pretty well. Defensively though, it's just missing the Fairy type. So it's really that one weakness. I feel like it's a very big weakness of this team. And it's definitely going to tank a lot of points. I'm going to say, what's the 4th best team? I'm going to say it's worse than Steelworkers. Vanillix's... I'm going to say it's also worse than Vanillix's, to be honest. But it is probably better than number 6. What's number 6? Conkeldurr's? Yes, it is better than Conkeldurr's. 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and I think that's, oh no, and 11. And that is the 6th best team right here. It is a very solid team though. Offensively, it's very good. Next, the moment you've all been waiting for, New York Islanders, my team. This team is the best, rank 1, next. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I'll admit it, I don't think I drafted as well as I could. I had a lot of things I wanted to do, as I'm sure many coaches did. I feel like I just ended up spreading myself too thin. I wanted a mini Rain Core with Pelipper and Xemu Kingdra, but I didn't want full on Rain. I just wanted a mini Rain Core, and that's what I got, which I think was really good. However, I also wanted, the main thing I wanted was Volt Turn, which I do have. I wanted a faster U-turner like Mienshao or Infernape. But midway through the draft, I didn't have a steal, and we were running out of good steals. I really needed a good steal, so I had to go with Scissor. Unfortunately, Slowbro was in Tier 3, but it got voted on and moved up to Tier 2, which was also really unfortunate, because I could have afforded my Tier 2 slot for maybe Infernape. Yeah. So, of course, as I said, I didn't have an Infernape, another fast Mon. My Volt Turn core is I have slow Scissor, which isn't for a U-turn, which isn't necessarily bad. But I'm going to say, before I say my strengths, I'm going to say my biggest weakness of this team is speed control. I have Koko, I have Kingdra Rain, I have Lycanroc, and maybe Scarf Hoopa, that's it. I don't have good speed control. My whole team is middling speed. You got Scissor, which is like base 60. You got, let's see, we got Hoopa, which is base 70. You got Politoed, base 60, I believe. Somewhere around there. You got Heracross, base 65. I don't know. I'm just guessing numbers. I think they're right, but they might not be. You can check me on that. I don't feel like checking. It's not that important. It's not that relevant to the conversation. Because the point is, my team is very middling speed. That's his weakness. For the pros of this team, I think it is it's good, offensively and defensively overall. I think defensively, my Slowbro plus Porygon 2, Slowbro and Porygon 2 are my boys, bro. Slowbro plus Porygon 2 is the main defensive core, and that's all you really need in a core. Like, they're very, very solid, especially together. Porygon 2's only weakness is fighting, which of course Slowbro resists. Hoopa's even immune to it, but you know, a lot of fighting types carry knockoff, so you're not going to want to switch that in, especially since they might want to knock off Porygon 2. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, my team is kind of knockoff weak with Alolan, Hoopa, Porygon 2, Piloswine is another Eviolite user, Slowbro. But it's definitely not a weakness, I wouldn't say, because a lot of knockoff users, I'll be trying to outspeed and use my offensive pressure, which I think this team also has a good prowess in, I have a lot of good cleaners. I have Lycanroc as a cleaner. Zimu Kingdra could even be a breaker or a cleaner. I have Koko, which is also a good pivot. Scissor's a very solid pivot. Could be a breaker with a setup sweeper immediately. Alola Marowak, which I mainly got for that stall team, because as I said, you know how I said that once you have a physical attacker that could break Corviknight, you're set. Alola Marowak is my way of dealing with this team, and it deals with it very well. I think Alola Marowak fits very, very well in this team as a breaker. Of course, you also got that pair with Mega Heracross as another breaker, very good breaker. So overall, I think offensively this team's very solid. Defensively, it also has Eldegoss, by the way, which covers up a nice Fire, Water, Grass core. Unfortunately, defensively, I don't have a defensive fire. Marowak doesn't count as a defensive fire. I think I have a lot of good mini cores, though. I think my main strength is pivoting, small offensive cores, and wall breaking with cleaners or even sweepers. So I'm going to say overall, my team is not number 1, not number 2. Who's number 3? Huh. I'm going to say not number 3. I'll probably say number 4. Who's number 4? Magearna or Steelworkers? Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't draft as well as I could have, I feel. Who's number 5? I think it's definitely better than Vanillix's. It's really just between... I'm debating who should get 4 and who should get 5. Steelworkers are my team. I'm going to give it to my team because at least I have a very solid defensive backbone, whereas this team doesn't. Like, Rotom is very good, and Rillaboom's good, but they don't have reliable recovery, whereas I have Porygon and Slowbro. So I'm going to give it to my team. So number 5, 12, 6, 10, 8, 9, 11, 7, and 4. Last team, LA T-Tars. I'm not going to rank it because, of course, they're not done yet. So I'll leave the rankings how they are for now. Those are the final rankings, but I will discuss it very quickly. Basically what happened is he wasn't there, but he gave me his picks beforehand. And I did the picks, but we kind of ended up running out of picks. He definitely didn't give me enough picks. And so he's going to finish that later. So what I think about this team, I think its defensive core, it's definitely looking to be the start of a very good defensive core with Toxapex, Mandibuzz, Heatran. Offensively, I obviously don't know much about it because, he actually do it. Pangoro plus Lottie, Gengar, very good. I think he is, defensively and offensively, is a very good start of cores. We kind of have to see how it's going to pan out with the rest of his Molins. First of all, a Pokemon that he absolutely needs. He needs a ground type with his team because he has Pex and Mandibuzz. He needs a Fizdef. He mainly needs a Fizdef ground type. Spadef. Yeah, he needs to have Fizdef. He could have a Spadef as well, but he needs to have a Fizdef ground type. Or else Pokemon are just going to Volt Turn on his ass. Like, my Tapu Koko, I'm hoping he doesn't get a ground type because when I face him, my Tapu Koko just goes in with Specs Volt Switch. Or even Calm Mind against his team. I mean, he does have potentially Scarf, Psyshock, Laddie. But Specs Koko with Volt Switch is going to go in on this man's team. He has a Heatran, but like my Caesar doesn't care if it's going to Volt Turn out on the Switch. So overall, his team is looking to be. I obviously can't rate it yet because it's there's not that many Pokemon. There's only 8 out of 13 picks. But I do think we don't even know. Oh, sorry, I forgot about Abomasnow, which Abomasnow is very solid. Of course, it is an electric resistance, but it's not a ground type. It does it, so it's not. It's honestly not good enough. My HP Fire Koko will run right through it, or even just my Volt Switch Koko into something else, like my banded U-turning Scissor. Like, yeah, pivoting fucks up this man's team because he doesn't have the best defensive core yet. I mean, you have to wait to see what he gets. If he doesn't get a ground type, this team's fucked. If he gets a ground type and a better defensive, and he fixes up his defensive core, he fixes up the holes in his offensive core, it'll be a very solid team. For now, we don't know yet. So those are my final thoughts on the standings. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about the league, about the ranks of the teams. And of course, I put it in the free agents tab. Of course, I'm going to get rid of them later. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned this week for our 2 draft battle uploads, my perspective on my battle and Kevin's battle. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.